If you're interested in what curry was like before mass immigration, after World War II, this is pretty much the standard recipe that so many people in England used, particularly if they were like my granddad, which this recipe is inspired from, spent time in India in World War II. My granddad was a flight sergeant or a flight engineer in the RAF, and he brought some recipes back to the UK. He developed a keen love for Indian food while in India, and he had to adapt the recipe accordingly to what was in the shop. Anyway, let's go and replicate this. Ingredients are very simple. We're going to be making a roux, so that's flour and water to thicken the sauce, which is pretty much a British creation for a curry component because it replicates the gravy, which would have been very popular in early British Indian curries, if you like. We've got one whole chicken that I've skinned and chopped. We've got some vegetable oil, some chopped onion, some raisins, some tomato puree, some chopped garlic. I've got one pretty unripe apple there. It oxygenates a little bit, funny colour. Salt and some normal basic curry powder that you can get in the supermarket with a touch of black pepper. That's the pan on the heat. I found a very similar pan to what my granddad would have used. Into that we're going to add some oil. Next we're going to add one large coarsely chopped onion and salt to taste. I'm using a heaped teaspoon. This is going to serve roughly 4 portions. So chop the onions nice and coarse. There was nothing very refined about the recipe. It was very simple but really tasty. Got really fond memories of growing up as a kid, my first introduction to curry, and also my mother's, who's also a massive Indian food lover. So I would basically say that I'm a 3rd generation curry lover. So once the onions have become slightly translucent, I'm going to add a whole chicken that's been skinned and chopped into essentially 8 pieces. Nice big pieces, so cooked on the bone, which is really authentic. So nice low heat. You might want to add some water. If the pan dries out, we're just going to come back once the chicken's sealed. That'll take around 20 minutes. So that's around the 20-minute mark. I've added oil very gradually. The onions are very translucent. The chicken is almost boiled. Now it's time to turn up the heat a little bit. Just going to get a little bit of browning on the chicken. So that's been around 5 minutes on this higher heat. And you can smell some roasting now, which is great. So next we're going to add the chopped garlic, no ginger, which is pretty interesting. Next we're going to add the supermarket curry powder with the pepper, which I suppose would have substituted chili powder. So dust it on evenly, give it a stir. Next we're going to add the tomato puree, and just a little water to marry those ingredients together. Give it all a good stir. Again, make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom of the pan. Next I'm going to add the grated apple, which provides the sourness. I've got the most unripe apple I could find at the supermarket. You could even use a cooking apple, and these raisins that give the sweetness. So we've already got the fundamentals of great cooking there. We've got sweet, sour, salty, spicy. It's time to make the roux, which is a French technique but very popular for English gravies. English always like the saucier versions of curries, and while we're on the subject, it's the English style of curry that was introduced to Japan, and anybody that knows Japanese curry, always roux based. Sizzling away nicely. Incredible aromas from the apple and the raisins. And next let's add the roux, flour and water to thicken everything up, and we're going to turn the heat down. So it's on a nice simmer, and you can see the roux has really thickened that sauce or gravy up. Just added some more water to loosen the mix up, create a delicious tangy gravy, and that can be finished off on a nice slow low temperature. Let's pop on a lid. While the curry's at its end phases, I've just put a little bit of oil on top of the grill pan. I've got the grill heating up, and this is how my grandfather used to make naan. Very creative. So you can use this with any kind of flour you want, really. This is literally just flour and water. Used to have a little bit of a roll. You want it about half a centimetre thick. You put the bread in here, finally shape it, and this is the interesting thing as well. The finger marks give it those nice grooves of texture as it bakes, which is a very traditional way of doing bread. And then finally a good splash of water to slow down the cooking and have it roast really without burning. So the grill is perfectly adequate for this. So just make sure your grill has been heating up a good 10 minutes on maximum. So I'm going to turn the curry off now, and that looks really gorgeous, if you can see from the steam. We'll have a look what that looks like in a couple of minutes. Freshly baked naan, very hot. I haven't made this since I was in my early 20s. You can cut it, or even better, just like it was done in the past, you can tear it to your size preference. Perfect for dipping into the curry. I hope you've enjoyed that video as much as I did making it. I only wish my granddad was here to share this with me. Cook the recipe, give it a try, let me know in the comments what you think. It might be a lot better than you think. Thanks for watching. See you again with another great recipe very soon.